Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL. This week we have Charlotte dropping. This is a very short RBTL. I'm going to keep it that way. I'll do a bit of discussion on Charlotte as a hero, whether or not you should be pulling for her, at least my thoughts on her. Try to give you guys the unbiased view so you guys can decide. Now, just saying right now, based on their kind of trend getting now a rerun or, one of the selective summon heroes or a rerun of a hero, they usually kind of insert this as a filler. Maybe next week it might be another filler, we're not sure, but just keep in mind that some new heroes could be coming. I know people are speculating that Straze or Strays, which I like to call is coming, and so just keep that in mind. Underlying, however good I make her sound, or however much you need a type of role that she carries, just keep that in mind that the new heroes could be coming, and you can always luckily pull her off some off banner. The other thing is that because at the point of this recording, we had been compensated, every account has been compensated for a week, I think, 2 5-stars. So if you are re-rolling, if you are a new player and you're watching this, just keep that in mind. You can get them from those free ones. I know that in the previous round of not the compensation but the free 5-stars, that's where I got my first Charlotte. So I'll be skipping this banner obviously because I don't want another dupe. So yeah, story, it's cool. I think it's the first time we'll see her side story, even for the Korea server. We don't need to talk about too much. Blazing Soul, Ultra Fang, Twisted Fang. For Leo, so she's a Leo. I'll be using this on my newly obtained Vildred. If you watch my dev conference thoughts video, at the end of it I pulled my Vildred. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty much all for him. Reputation, silver, sky stones, coming, yeah, same stuff. The powder shop is gonna be refreshed soon. So wait, is that today? Yeah, so that's today. Is it? Yeah, today's 17th. Yeah, that's today. So till August 14th. This batch coming is very good. Elbrus Ritual Sword, I talked about this before. One of the best night artifacts, along with Aureus. Elbrus, I would say, is probably one of the best 5-star night artifacts at this point. Abyssal Crown, if you have Dizzy, if you have any mage that you're running on defense, Abyssal Crown really adds to it. Any mage that has, especially has AoE with Abyssal Crown, is just super annoying to deal with. So if you have ML Araminta, ML Baal, you have Dizzy, you have anyone that can kind of spam, especially on the first turn on a defense team with Abyssal Crown. It's super annoying. The more RNG you add to a defense team, whether in GVG or Arena, the more chances of you can win, because generally people are smart enough to kind of counter your heroes, but they can't counter RNG. RNG is RNG. And so, very good to have. I think Sword of Judgment is not that worth it. Cigarette Scythe could be worth it too, especially if you have some hard-hitting warriors or some bruisers. So, a very, very good batch to get. 4-star Zero Ren is the same as Abyssal Crown. It's really good that both of them are coming at the same time. Some people like to run a combo of Abyssal Crown and Zero Ren. If you have like Dizzy or ML Baal, Abyssal Crown, just to keep in mind, if you have it at plus 30, that means max limit broken is only a 24% chance to proc, but a Zero Ren gets a 50% chance to proc. 2 out of the 4 stats that Zero Ren can proc, the debuffs rather, can proc, is like as good as stun. You can get silence, you can get sleep. So they're as good as stun almost for first turn. So it's just something to keep in mind. I'm beginning to like Zero Ren a lot more than before, just because the mage meta is so heavy right now. And yeah, Rosa, not necessary. Aliha's knife's pretty good, but again, not super necessary. Now we have Portrait of Saviors. And Tonfa could be another good replacement, even if it depends on your team comp, but at least his knife is good, I guess. Water's Origin turning out to be really good, especially in this meta as well. So very good batch to come. I think it's better, way stronger than our current batch right now. But I know that a lot of people are waiting for like this other combo of like RNL. RNL, another really broken artifact. So anyways, but I think that this one for sure, I think I'm gonna go for a bit more Abyssal Crowns, because I only recently got one, and that took a lot of time. I only recently got my first one, so I mean, yeah, I think I'm gonna get one. Yeah, that's for me, and we're gonna quickly jump into Charlotte's kit here. So I'm gonna swap my screen here, and for you guys, so we could get a quick discussion on whether or not you want to pull for her. All right, so I have her journal open here really quickly, that she's a knight. So focusing on knight artifacts, I think that if she was made as a warrior, which I think a lot of people would agree, you know, she feels more like a warrior. If she was made a warrior, I think the artifacts that she has access to would make her too OP, too strong. So I think therefore that's why they designed her as a knight. She is a bruiser though. I would say that she's a bruiser. For a knight, 1,134 attack isn't that bad. The health is a bit low. It's a bit lower than Charles. So if you count Charles as a damage dealer, which I would say like she and Charles, I put them in the same kind of category, while not the same type of role. They deal like similar types of damage, though I would say that Charlotte is a way stronger damage dealer compared to Charles. She has about 200 more attack than Charles, about 500 less health than Charles, but has about like 20 to 40 more defense than Charles. Has a lot lower speed than Charles as well, but and I think like 5 less or 4 less crit chance. I know it's not fair to compare them, but when I think about like how to build them and where I would use them, I would almost build them the same way. High HP, like decently high HP, like 13 to 15,000 HP. You're looking at about realistically 2,200 to 2,400 attack. If you're gonna build them well-rounded. For Charlotte though, unless you're running counter set with Elber's Ritual Sword, you will need to run some speed on her. Though I think because she has such low base speed, running counter with Elber's Ritual Sword is very, very good for her, and we're gonna see why. Although I have theory crafted a build, and when I was somewhat building Charlotte, I was going for a speed set. I was aiming for speed set with high damage with Elber's Ritual Sword. I think that would make her such a crazy monster. It'd be really good. Though I don't build my Charles that way. Of course, she does lack a bit of crit chance compared to Charles, and Charles is already really hard to get that crit chance. You ideally want both of these heroes to have really high crit damage. Although it just occurred to me that both of their names share like the first 5 characters or first 5 letters. Charlotte? Charles? What? No. I would definitely think about making her tanky and beefy. But you want to focus on decently high attack but really high crit damage, because she has really good damage mods to begin with, and she has really good kit. So let's quickly go into it. I've talked about this before on my top 10 heroes to reroll for in length. So if I miss anything, definitely check out that video and skip to the Charlotte section, because I think I talk about her a lot more there. A lot more of like where she'll be used, etc. People have like videos that she eats like hell raid like no tomorrow. At least the first 2 bosses, because she's a fire elemental. She has no weaknesses for any of the bosses, especially if the hell raid bosses, if all 5 of them are open. If they share the same element as their regular raid counterparts, she'll have no weakness to them. So it's kind of cool. Though I would say that in PvP a long time ago, she was somewhat like scary to deal with in PvP. She's not as anymore. You don't see her people running on defense just because of the heavy water meta that we're facing. People don't really run her on offense just because, again, water meta that we're facing. So that's where she'll kind of like fall off. But people who have built Charlotte and embraced Charlotte's kit will agree with me that she doesn't need buffs, but she definitely needs more spotlight. I think she's very underrated just because she's underused. Although actually, if you take a look at the hero rating, I don't usually look at the hero rating because you know, it could be really biased, but you can see the high rating on her, right? And then but a lot of people are like, what, I never heard people talk about Charlotte, never hear people use Charlotte, but she's really strong, and people who have experience with her really know what they're talking about. S1 comes really awesome. 100% chance to defense break for 2 turns, but it's single target, but only it's conditional if the enemy's health is less than 50%. If the enemy's health is more than 50%, increases their attack for 2 turns. So very good combo to have. That's why I theory crafted running her with speed set. I got her up to 170 speed pretty easily, but of course it's a speed set with a speed boot. All right, 170 with some spare substats, but she had like about like 240 crit damage, and because I never 6-starred her, so her attack was lacking. Because she's a Leo, she has a ton of attack in her awakening, so it really helps her. So keep that in mind. Like my Charles has about like 2,200 attack, with only a attack ring, a 50% attack ring. He runs a crit damage necklace and a health boot. So 2,200 attack. So for her to scale that, if you get like a 60% attack ring and some attack substats on the left side or even on the right side with the left side, you're looking easily at a 2,400. With her mods and high crit damage, about 250% crit damage, she'll be doing a lot of damage. Her S1 has a skill mod of 1 times. So 1 times is not even that bad. S2, it's an AoE. It's a 0.8 times mod. It's not super strong, but for what the kit gives you for the S2, 0.8 is a godsend. All enemies, okay, AoE up to a 35% chance if you molar this to a +4, 35% chance to stun for 1 turn. Now the stunning for 1 turn obviously is already good enough. Those 35% you can count as, compare this to like Dizzy's AoE. Don't compare the ML Araminta, of course, because she's just broken. Dizzy's AoE on the S1 is 25%. You can't get that any higher with Mola investments. So 25 to up to a 35% chance to stun for 1 turn is really good. But again, depends on who you're facing. For most of the Hell Raid bosses at the moment, it's really good. You can get it except on the bosses themselves. So at least on all the elite monsters, you can get it on them. You can get it on their mobs. It says the combat readiness is increased by 30% each time an enemy is stunned. So that's per enemy stunned. Your CR is boosted by 30%. That really lends well, especially this has a 3-turn rotation, 3-turn cooldown. Really lends well to her S3. Her S3 is what makes her extremely broken. You can set her up, of course, with the S1. Acquires 1 focus, S2 acquires 2 focus, 5 focus. It will gain you the S3 at the max potential. Okay, so 5 focus. So for each subsequent focus, your damage mods are as this: 0.8, 0.8, 1, 1.3, 1.7, and 2.4. So 0.8, so the first focus is 0.8, 1 for the second one, 1.3, 1.7, and then 2.4. Keep in mind that this is an AoE attack. AoE attack that does not miss. The other highest AoE is Dizzy's S3, which is at a 2.5, but it misses. So you can't scale off crit damage. And of course, missing actually has a reduction in your overall attack damage. So for her to have this max stack it, I mean, this doesn't take long. If you have Elbrus Ritual Sword, that's why people run her on Elbrus, regardless of the set you run her on. If you run her on Elbrus and she does the S1, you get 1 focus right there. So you can build up to the S3 really quickly. Skill cooldown is decreased by 2 turns at 10 souls. It's a 4-turn rotation, -1, so that's 3. So if you have this to Mola to +3, it's a 3-turn rotation. If you soul burn, it only costs 10, it's very cheap. Reduces by 2. So every 2 turns, if you soul burn it, you would be able to get this up. And just keep that in mind that once you have it at max stack, the focus doesn't get consumed. So once you get for your focus to 5, you can keep the damage mod at 2.4. That's what makes her insanely strong. Doppels, I already said that, so yeah, never mind. I'm not gonna. It'll make you look bad if I repeat what you said. Whoa, burn. No, just kidding. Yeah, so keep that in mind. All her damage comes from this. Even if you only had one target, a 2.4 times mod is extremely strong. It's extremely strong. So that this being an AoE just makes her insane. So now let's pull this back. Does this mean you have to pull for her? I would say no. I would actually argue against it. Unless somehow Charlotte's kit appeals to you that you need this kind of role, I would say don't pull for her. It's kind of unfortunate for me to say that because I really think she's super underrated, overlooked. She's so good. And I have to kind of like, sound like a hypocrite because I left her at 5-star awakened though, mind you. 5-star awakened. That means I was going to put my love into her, but then I got all these other heroes that I needed to prioritize on. So she didn't get the 6-star treatment. She didn't get the Mola treatment. And I just think that once you have her like rightly molded, I would say, if you really love her and you really want to use her well, you have to +5 that S3. With the amount of damage mod that's already on it, she has a 50% raw damage. We're talking about this. I think Cigarette is one of the strongest nukers right now, single target. She has a 50% raw damage. Cigarette has a 50% raw damage. Very hard to come by, and I think it's definitely worth it for her kit. I would say the effect chance is good to have on this one, but not necessary. That 10%, you're not going to see that too much. Anything under 50%, you're going to roll some salty RNG. But just keep that in mind because it's an AoE. Ideally, most maps you run like maybe 3 to 4 enemies, you get a higher chance to roll that 25%. So might not need that. And you probably won't need the S1. You hardly use the S1 for damage itself, other than the buffs and the defense break, and to set up for the S3. So I think for her Mola, it's actually relatively cheap. Not really cheap, but you want to max out the S3. Maybe at the most get +4 on the S2. There's nothing to go for on the S2 except that 10% crit chance, so effect chance. So you need +4 on this, and you don't need this one at all. You don't need this at all. You could run her on counter set like I said, but in my opinion I would probably prefer like maybe a crit set, speed set with Elbrus, and I think she could be very insane as a damage dealer. Right, so a bruiser. So anyways, that's my thoughts on this one. I'm going to end this session of RBTL. So if you have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next Reading Between the Lines.